This is certainly the most entertaining timeline. I mean, I don't know what happened, what black hole we fell through to emerge from the other side, where the president of the United States is calling a woman horseface he once had sex with, and she is insulting his genitalia as a mushroom character from a 1997 video game. But all I can say is I'm very happy we fell into this particular black hole because it's deeply entertaining. I have so much to say about so many things today. But first, let's talk about another podcast that you should actually listen to. There are hundreds of thousands of legal cases in litigation every day in the United States court system. Most of them will never reach the media's attention. But the ones that you know about, well, you don't know as much as you think you do, which is why you ought to listen to a podcast from Wondery called Legal Wars. Host Hill Harper gives you behind-the-scenes access into some of the most famous cases to have ever graced America's courtrooms. You'll hear about influential cases that have changed the face of America, things like the Rodney King trial or Anna Nicole Smith's battle for her inheritance or the takedown of the gossip site Gawker. Go listen to Legal Wars on Apple Podcasts. The first episode is about Hulk Hogan versus Gawker, which actually did change the way media is done in the United States. This is a case in which Hogan walked out of the courtroom with a multi-million-dollar settlement, but you don't know the whole story until you've listened to Legal Wars. You can find Legal Wars on Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to this, or head over to Wondery.fm/Ben. That's WONDERY.FM/Ben. Wondery.fm/Ben. You can go check out Legal Wars from Wondery. All their podcasts are awesome, but this one is particularly entertaining, and I've really enjoyed listening to it. So go check it out right now. Legal Wars on Apple Podcasts or at Wondery.fm/Ben. It's great. You're going to have fun listening to it. All right. So did you think that yesterday's news cycle was going to be the pinnacle of insanity? Did you think that we had really reached the apex of crazy and hilarious with Elizabeth Warren revealing a test that supposedly showed that she was Native American, only to show that she is significantly less Native American than a Jeep Grand Cherokee? Were you a person who thought, maybe we finally reached the summit of ridiculousness with Elizabeth Warren claiming that she was a member of the Cherokee Nation when, in fact, Elizabeth Warren is whiter than this piece of paper? Did you think well, you ain't seen nothing yet. It's 2018, gang. Boom! So, President Trump leads off this morning, and he had a bunch of tweets about Elizabeth Warren. We'll get to those in just a second. But we begin with the President of the United States, who has decided that he doesn't like Stormy Daniels anymore. Our producer, Senya, is down with illness, but we'll make a Taylor Swift reference for her here. It turns out they are never, ever, ever getting back together. So here is what happened. There's a lawsuit that Stormy Daniels had filed against the President of the United States. It was always a frivolous, stupid lawsuit. Anybody with a law degree knew this. There was a suit in which she sued him for defamation after he tweeted that she was engaged in a total con job. Right? He tweeted a sketch years later about a non-existent man, a total con job playing the fake news media for fools. This is when she claimed that she was stalked by a guy who was sent by Trump. And she sued him for defamation. Okay, that's not defamation. She's a public figure. Defamation is knowingly and maliciously attacking someone with false information. It's knowing and malicious is the standard for public figures. It wasn't knowing and it wasn't malicious. It was just basically free speech and him giving an opinion. But she sued him for defamation, and then it was thrown out. The case was thrown out, and here's what the judge wrote. The court agrees with Mr. Trump's argument because the tweet in question constitutes rhetorical hyperbole, normally associated with politics and public discourse in the United States. The First Amendment protects this type of rhetorical statement. Not only that, the judge ruled that Stormy Daniels now had to pay Trump's legal fees. Ouch. So the President of the United States had a response on Twitter. Remember, this is an office once occupied by Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, Ronald Reagan. Here's the President of the United States' official statement on his Twitter account. Quote, federal judge throws out Stormy Daniels' lawsuit versus Trump. Trump is entitled to full legal fees. Great. Now I can go after Horseface and her third-rate lawyer in the great state of Texas. She will confirm the letter she signed. She knows nothing about me. A total con. Well, that's one way to step on a news cycle. So we could have done an entire week of Elizabeth Warren. Now we will do an entire week of the President of the United States calling a woman he once had sex with horseface. Yeah, so that's a thing. Now, a couple of different things to note here. First of all, if you had to sum up this entire news cycle in one meme, it would be President Trump as the Lone Ranger. Silver would be horseface Stormy Daniels, and Tonto would be Elizabeth Warren. So our artistic geniuses in the back room are cooking up that one right now. But with that said, Is it good that the President of the United States calls any woman horseface? No, probably not a good thing. Is it smart that he calls a woman he once had sex with horseface? Well, it does call into judgment. It does call into question his judgment regarding women. It's kind of a weird thing to do. Like, you have sex with a woman you're not married to, and then you call her horseface. Is that more of a rip on her or a rip on your taste? Because it's kind of weird. Also, just politically speaking, is that going to make for a good news cycle that now we're going to get media outrage about Trump calling women horseface like a week and a half after the Brett Kavanaugh saga, in which the left wanted to launch a war on women and failed? Is that going to be good? No, but no one ever accused the president of not stepping on his own mushrooms. So it's really, it's not great. I'll be honest with you. I think that there are flaws in this line of thinking. That when the president got up this morning and he thought, you know what, I'm going to tweet about Stormy Daniels and her horseface. Hi-ho Silver, away. Din, 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 din. Yeah. Not great. Not great. Okay, now, just from an objective human point of view, is it hilarious? Of course it's hilarious. Okay, we can appreciate two things at once. Trump, when it comes to women, is a garbage human. Okay, I've said this 1 million times because it is 1 million times true. He is not great with women. And when I say not great with women, I mean that this is a man who said in the 1970s that avoiding STDs was his own personal Vietnam. This is a guy who nailed anything that moved for about 40 years here. And this is a man who is very lucky there are not lots of little illegitimate Trumps walking around. Like, Trump has not been shy about his treatment of women. I mean, he was caught on tape in the last election cycle saying, in Access Hollywood tape, that he grabbed women by their hooves. So it's like, there's nothing shocking here, but just from a pure human point of view, are we through the looking glass? Are we in the middle of idiocracy? You bet your ass we're in the middle of idiocracy. I mean, my goodness. I go to the stables every morning and there's Horseface. Horseface and Toad from Mario Kart, an American romance. That's where we are. So, all good stuff. The other narrative of the day is that Elizabeth Warren, as Tonto, is not actually Native American. So she claimed that she was Native American many, 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 many times. She claimed that she was Native American in legal journals. She claimed that she was Native American in an award that she won from University of Pennsylvania Law School. She claimed that she was Native American in a story that she told over and over and over, a romantic story, a Romeo and Juliet story about her mother, a proud Native American woman wandering the plains who met her father, and her father brought her home. But the in-laws were racist, and said, you can't bring home that Native American woman. You can't bring home that Indian. Get out of here. And then apparently her parents eloped, and they had a beautiful romance from there on in. Well, it turns out that Elizabeth Warren is not, in fact, Native American, but it was funny to watch as the narrative turned yesterday. So yesterday, Elizabeth Warren started this whole thing off by releasing a video of her and her family members talking about how Native American she was. And here was what the video sounded like.
This isn't just about casual racism, war hoops, and tomahawk chops. Native communities have faced discrimination, neglect, and violence for generations. And Trump can say whatever he wants about me. But mocking Native Americans or any group in order to try to get at me, that's not what America stands for. Some people have questioned my heritage and my family history. Maybe they do it to insult me. Maybe they do it to distract from the kinds of changes I'm fighting for and the kind of change I'm trying to bring to Washington. Maybe they do it because they think politics is a blood sport. But my parents were real people. The love they shared, the struggles they endured, the family they built, the story they lived will always be etched on my heart. And no one, not even the President of the United States, will ever take it away from me.
The story is etched on her heart. Etched on her heart. And then she goes to all her family members who are talking about their Native American heritage. And then she releases a study. And the study shows that she is maybe, not totally, maybe 1,024th Native American. 1,024th Native American, which is just awesome. It's just awesome in every way. So she releases that, and watch as her tweets evolve over the course of the day. So she starts off by saying this. By the way, a real Donald Trump, remember saying on 7/5, July 5th, that you'd give $1 million to a charity of my choice if my DNA showed Native American ancestry? I remember, and here's the verdict. Please send the check to the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center. Okay, number one, that's not what he said. What he said is, if you prove you're Native American, then I'll give you $1 million. She didn't prove she was Native American. She proved that she is whiter than any person this side of Marky Mark. And then she continued tweeting, but watch how her tweets evolve. NIWRC is a nonprofit working to protect Native women from violence. More than half of all Native women have experienced sexual violence, and the majority of violent crimes against Native Americans are perpetrated by non-natives. Send them your $1 million check, Donald Trump. And then she continues along these lines. I took the test and released the results for anyone who cares to see because I've got nothing to hide. What are you hiding, Donald Trump? Release your tax returns, or the Democratic-led House will do it for you soon enough. Tick-tock, Mr. President. This is one of the most annoying things on Twitter these days, the tick-tock routine. Oh, well, tick-tock, we're ticking down to something big. Or it turns down, we are ticking down to you completely collapsing in on yourself like a dying star. She continues, and she says, having some memory problems, Donald Trump, should we call for a doctor? Here's something you won't forget, Mr. President. You're the least popular president in modern history, and your allies will go down hard in the midterm elections. 22 days. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Oh, God. Oh, God. And then then she concludes, I won't sit quietly for Donald Trump's racism, so I took a test. But DNA and family history has nothing to do with tribal affiliation or citizenship, which is determined only by tribal nations. I respect the distinction and don't list myself as Native in the Senate. Wait, what happened? That was a sudden left turn. It's like when Michael Scott was driving on the road and the GPS told him to drive into the lake. That's basically how that tweet thread went. She's talking about, yeah, I'm Native American and Native Americans are great and give some money to Native Americans. And she's like, but I'm not Native American. What could have happened to trigger such a change? What could have happened to Tonto? We will explain in just 1 second. But first, let's talk about your omega-3 levels. If you're experiencing joint pain or chronic inflammation, lack of concentration, weight gain, chances are you're probably one of those folks. This is why you need to try Omax 3 Ultra Pure. Omax is offering my listeners 60% off a 1-month supply of Ultra Pure plus free shipping and a 60-day money-back guarantee. So you can try it. If you don't like it, then you're not going to lose anything. You hear all the hype around omega-3s. Well, now is your chance to try the purest form of omega-3 on the market. Go to tryomax.com/Shapiro. Omega-3 fatty acids, they're vital to your overall health. They're considered a worthwhile pill, certainly by experts. They improve mood, memory, brain, cardiovascular health. But a lot of the top sellers simply are not pure enough to actually do anything. This is why, if you want to feel the benefits, you need to try Omax 3 Ultra Pure. It's the only game-changing omega-3 supplement on the market, 94% pure, with a patented EPA to DHA ratio of 4-to-1 to fight unwanted joint pain and inflammation. Folks in the office have tried Omax 3, and they say that it really does work. Go check it out right now. Also, you can do the freezer test. If you take any other omega-3 and you put it in the freezer, you take it out, it's cloudy because it's not pure. Omax 3 soft gel remains clear because it is indeed pure. Go to tryomax.com/Shapiro to get 60% off a 1-month supply plus free shipping and a 60-day money-back guarantee. So you got nothing to lose. tryomax.com/Shapiro to get 60% off a 1-month supply plus free shipping and that 60-day money-back guarantee. Tryomax.com/Shapiro. Terms and conditions do apply. So, what could have changed Elizabeth Warren's mind? What could have changed her mind? She was saying very confidently that she was Native American. That she was Native American. And then all of a sudden, it turns out the tribes get to decide who's Native American. Why? Why? Because the Cherokee Nation came out and said, you're not Native American. Now, let's be clear about this. The Cherokee Nation does not come out and make political statements very often, but they sent out their Secretary of State, Chuck Hoskin, to issue a statement. He said, quote, a DNA test is useless to determine tribal citizenship. Current DNA tests do not even distinguish whether a person's ancestors were indigenous to North or South America. Sovereign tribal nations set their own legal requirements for citizenship. And while DNA tests can be used to determine lineage, such as paternity to an individual, it is not evidence for tribal affiliation. And then they continued, using a DNA test to lay claim to any connection to the Cherokee Nation or any tribal nation, even vaguely, is inappropriate and wrong. It makes a mockery out of DNA tests and its legitimate uses, while also dishonoring legitimate tribal governments and their citizens, whose ancestors are well documented and whose heritage is proven. Senator Warren is undermining tribal interests with her continued claims of tribal heritage. Ouch. Ouch. So she just got slammed by the Cherokee Nation, to which she claims ancestral membership. Yeah. That went poorly for Elizabeth Warren, which is why she shifted and said, I'm not claiming that I'm Native American anymore, but I'm kind of Native American, so give me $1 million. Again, I call on the Trump administration, I call on President Trump to personally sign a $900 check to Elizabeth Warren's charity of choice, because she is 1,024th Native American, maybe. He should pay her 1,024th of $1 million. That is the amount to which she is owed. So President Trump was asked about this yesterday, and he basically dismissed all of it.
No, I have no. Who cares? Who cares? I didn't say that. No, I didn't. You better read it again. I hope she's running for president because I think she'd be very easy. I hope that she is running. I do not think she'd be difficult at all. She'll destroy the country. She'll make our country into Venezuela. With that being said, I don't want to say bad things about her because I hope she would be one of the people that would get through the process. It's going to be a long process for the Democrats.
Okay, so President Trump, he's eager to go after Elizabeth Warren. Again, I still think we need the image of him with a Publishers Clearinghouse-sized check, handing it to Elizabeth Warren in order to basically have that image linked with Elizabeth Warren forever. Unfortunately, it seems like he's swiveled, and he's less interested in whether Elizabeth Warren has a relationship with Tonto and more interested in whether Stormy Daniels is in fact Silver. Hello, Silver, away. But I want to talk a little bit more about why it's important for Elizabeth Warren to have maintained her Native American ancestry point. What made her think she could get away with this? So let's talk about that. Here's the thing. There was a story that came out September 1st of this year in the Boston Globe, and it discussed a serious issue for Elizabeth Warren. Was Senator Warren actually a professor at Harvard Law because she claimed Native American ancestry? In other words, was she granted special status that sort of gave her an upper hand when it came to her job at University of Pennsylvania or at Harvard Law School? Well, this long article from the Boston Globe, in-depth research, found that folks at Harvard said that her Native American claims had nothing to do with any of that her Native American claims had nothing to do with her actual ability to be granted a professorship at Harvard Law School. They interviewed something like 31 professors, many of whom were on the admissions committee, some of whom I know, people like Charles Freed, who I had for contracts. And he said, no, when we hired her, it had nothing to do with her claiming Native American ancestry. In fact, we didn't even know that at the time. We assumed she was white. And the internal documents suggested that University of Pennsylvania treated her as a white person, and so did Harvard Law School, until it became beneficial for them to claim that she was of minority heritage for purposes of their diversity curriculum, right? They had to claim that they had a certain number of diverse professors, and so they sort of faked it and said that she was Native American. But that doesn't mean she got her job based on Native American claims. So with that said, why didn't Elizabeth Warren, a month and a half ago, simply say, look, I was told by my family members that I had Cherokee ancestry. My mom used to tell me that. My uncles and aunts used to tell me that. And because of that, I simply assumed that they were right. I wasn't going to assume that my relatives were lying to me. Those were the stories that I was told growing up. I guess that was wrong. And so I never should have done any of that stuff. But it didn't have any impact on my actual career trajectory. My career trajectory was going to be great no matter what and had nothing to do with those claims. So I apologize to Native Americans for having taken seriously the stories of my family without checking them. But with that said, to claim that I was a beneficiary of some sort of affirmative action is simply untrue. Right? Why didn't she do that? Well, there are two reasons she didn't do that, and both of them are telling. Reason number one, she figured that she could get away with pretty much anything because the media would cover for her, which the media did yesterday. There were headlines in the Daily Beast saying, Elizabeth Warren proves Native American ancestry. There's a headline over at CNN, Elizabeth Warren provides solid evidence of Native American ancestry. So she legitimately threw out a study that showed she was not Native American and counted on the media to say that the study showed she was actually Native American. And the media complied for the first 12 hours. And then it all began to fall apart because people can read. And we don't live in a world where there are only 3 networks and 3 major newspapers anymore. We live in a world where people can fact check stuff. And that meant that her narrative began to collapse in on her. So she thought she could get away with it because the media would cover for her. And why not? Why wouldn't she think that? I mean, the media have covered for the fact that Beto O'Rourke in Texas, who is being treated as an Obama-esque, Kennedy-esque, new, young figure, that guy was involved in a DUI when he was 26 that involved him crossing over a median line, smashing a truck, and then trying to flee from the scene. And they're still touting him as the big new next Democratic thing. Now, listen, I'm somebody who's had my license suspended for driving too fast. I'm obvious about that. I was not driving drunk, and I didn't crash into anybody. It was on an empty freeway. Beto O'Rourke was driving drunk and hit a guy and then tried to flee the scene while he was drunk. And the media have basically said that's a big nothing. This is the same media that said that George W. Bush's DUI back in the 1970s should have disqualified him in 2000 from running for the presidency like 2 weeks before the election. So Elizabeth Warren had good cause to think that the media were going to cover for her no matter what. If the media covered Democrats the way they cover Republicans, half of the candidates for Congress in this election cycle would be toast. They would be finished. Bob Menendez in New Jersey would be done. Honestly, he'd be gone. Claire McCaskill in Missouri would be done. Kristen Sinema in Arizona would be just toast. But they are not, because Elizabeth Warren, like every other Democrat, knows that there is a sort of buffer zone that is established for Democratic candidates. And so she can simply claim Native American ancestry without any proof, and the media will continue to cover for her as much as humanly possible, right? And they will just continue to cover for her endlessly. That's the reason number one that Elizabeth Warren felt comfortable releasing a study that actually contradicted her main narrative line. Then there is reason number two, and this one goes a little bit deeper for the Democrats. So, reason number two, we'll get to in just 1 second. First, let's talk about how you manage your money. Okay, you need to outsmart average. You need to be better than the average investor. The smart way to manage your money is the folks over at Betterment. So Betterment has a cutting-edge technology combined with human expertise. It's an investment tool for people who refuse to settle for average investing. Their technology is designed to help you make more from your investments. It's unlimited expert advice designed to help you make those smart financial decisions, tax-efficient investing strategies that give you an edge, low transparent fees, constant access to information and tools that allow you to track progress toward your goals so you can always feel like a smart, savvy investor. The reason that you need Betterment is for the same reason that you are a person, you don't necessarily have all the time that you need in order to do all the research on your own into investing. Well, Betterment helps you do all of that stuff. It's an online financial advisor. I have a financial advisor. You should have a financial advisor too. And cost should not be a barrier to getting good financial advice. Well, Betterment makes sure that you can get that financial advice with extraordinarily low cost and all the information you need. Now, investment involves risks. The listeners can get up to 1 year managed for free. For more information, visit betterment.com/Shapiro. That's betterment.com/Shapiro. Outsmart average. Again, sign up today and get up to 1 year managed for free. That is betterment.com/Shapiro. And again, that gets you up to 1 year managed for free. So it's a pretty solid deal for getting good advice on how exactly you ought to be investing your money. Okay, so what is the second reason? What is the second reason that Elizabeth Warren didn't just come out months ago and say, listen, my family got the story wrong. I shouldn't have said all that stuff, but I trusted my family. My bad, had no impact on my career. Why didn't she just say that? The second reason is because identity politics is all that matters to the left. And Elizabeth Warren knows this. She knows that in a battle between Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris, she comes up short in the minority category. Folks in the Democratic Party have decided that all that matters in the end is intersectionality, how many victim groups you belong to. Elizabeth Warren only belongs to one purported victim group. She's a white woman. And white women are under a pretty significant attack by the left right now. There's an article we read last week on this program, an op-ed in the New York Times, talking about how white women were the serious problem in the United States. Elizabeth Warren is a white woman. She has no intersectional advantage over Cory Booker, over Kamala Harris, over Deval Patrick. Claiming minority status allows her to say that she is part of the victimized minority in the United States, even though she's led a pretty easy life. Elizabeth Warren went to Rutgers Law School, and then she became a lawyer, and then she became a law professor at University of Texas at Austin, then University of Pennsylvania, then Harvard Law School. She flipped some houses. She's made some money. Elizabeth Warren is not a person who has endured tremendous suffering at the hands of the evil American patriarchy and hierarchy. She has to come up with some story of victimhood. And the easiest way to do that is to try and connect to your relatives. It's the same routine that Hillary Clinton did. She used to talk about her parents all the time and how her parents suffered a lot. Her mom particularly was trod upon as a woman in the United States because it turns out Hillary didn't have a good victimization story. In the Democratic Party, you need a victimization story in order so that you can try to lead the charge on behalf of all the victim groups. Elizabeth Warren knew that she needed to lead that charge, but she could only do that if she identified as some form of minority. And the way that she did that is by saying that she had Native American ancestry. And what group in America has been more put upon than Native Americans? And so she wouldn't let it go. She wouldn't let it go. Now it's backfired on her because you can imagine how these Democratic debates are going to go. You're going to see people like Kamala Harris turn to turn to Elizabeth Warren. You're going to see Deval Patrick, Cory Booker turn to Elizabeth Warren and suggest that Elizabeth Warren basically traded on fake minority heritage in order to try and score points with the minority base. It's going to hurt her pretty badly. So Elizabeth Warren actually damaged herself pretty significantly, but that was basically inevitable because she was stuck between a rock and a hard place. She's just a white woman running in a party that doesn't care about white women and thinks that white women are part of the patriarchy. And she also can't claim minority status because if she does, she's lying. So Elizabeth Warren shot herself in the foot in a pretty significant way here. And I'm not sure that she recovers because honesty was not a priority. If she had simply been honest about all this stuff, everything would have been fine. She wasn't. And so things went to hell in a handbasket for her. Meanwhile, she's not the only Democrat in turmoil. There's a story out today. President Trump has raised already for his reelection ancestry, his reelection campaign, $100 million in fundraising for his reelection. Okay, it's only 2018. According to the Greenwich Times, President Trump has topped $100 million in fundraising for his 2020 reelection bid, an enormous haul for a president barely 2 years into his first term, according to new figures reported by his 2020 campaign. Trump pulled in more than $18 million last quarter through his campaign committee and 2 joint fundraising committees with the RNC for a total of at least $106 million since January 2017, according to his campaign and federal filings. So that's bad news for Democrats who thought that Trump would have collapsed at this point, that he would have destroyed himself by this point. Trump can't destroy himself because nothing you do can destroy a man who has no character. Okay, President Trump is not a man of rich character. Listen, I like a lot of what he does politically, but this is a guy who goes on Twitter and calls former lovers who he had sex with while he was married horseface. Okay, so it's going to be kind of difficult to destroy that guy. And it turns out that most folks who want to see his priorities put in place don't care too much about his character. Like, we've established that character in American politics is no longer a major concern, obviously. And so Trump can raise as much money as he wants. Meanwhile, Democrats in Senate races across the country are having trouble too. Beto O'Rourke, acting on the best ideals of his Democratic spread the wealth around campaign, he announced on Monday he is not going to share any of his $38 million war chest, even though Democratic bosses want the cash for more competitive states. So Beto O'Rourke is going to lose to Ted Cruz in Texas in the Senate race. Latest polls have him down almost double digits after the media have been fawning over him the same way they fawned over Wendy Davis, the former state senator in Texas, who then lost by something like 20 points to Greg Abbott. Well, now they are, for governor in Texas, they're doing the same thing with Beto O'Rourke. Beto won't share the money. Why won't he spread the wealth around? Why is he so greedy, Beto O'Rourke? He's like a Republican or something. The Texas Democrat told reporters after a campaign rally he will not spare any expense in his own race. He plans to leave all the money he has raised out on the field ahead of Election Day. O'Rourke raised from July to September $38.1 million. He says that he is not going to contribute any of that money to other candidates, which is kind of amazing because, honestly, if he wants to ensure his future in the Democratic Party, he really should become a patron of the arts, right? He should be taking that money and distributing it to more hotly contested races. He's not going to do any of that. So that's a bad story for Democrats. Meanwhile, Claire McCaskill is running a very tight race in Missouri. And James O'Keefe, the kind of undercover journalist, he's kind of a shock journalist over at Project Veritas. He's done some good work before. He sent some of his folks into Claire McCaskill's office, and he got Claire McCaskill's people to acknowledge that she is campaigning far to the right of where she actually is on the issues. Here's some of what that sounded like.
Yeah. I can tell them, because she does support a semi-automatic firearm ban. Because I want to say something I shouldn't say.
I think a semi-automatic rifle ban.
Okay.
Is more so what she would support.
But she doesn't openly go out and support groups like Moms Demand Action or just other groups that are related to that, because that could hurt her ability to get elected, because people see that and they're just well, I don't want to support her even though they stand for the same policies.
Right.
Okay, so she's basically been fibbing about her own positions. So Claire McCaskill is in trouble in Missouri. Kristen Sinema, just 3 weeks ago, was leading Martha McSally in the Arizona Senate race. And now it turns out that all of her past has come out, and Kristen Sinema is a nutcase. So Kristen Sinema is the Democratic nominee in Arizona. According to the Washington Examiner, she apparently takes sorcery very seriously. Emails obtained by the Washington Examiner show Sinema was invited to a prominent coven of feminist witches in Arizona. It was called Pagan Cluster, to celebrate International Women's Day and to protest the war in March of 2003. Code Pink protesters wore pink, obviously enough, and the women in black wore black. But Sinema encouraged the witches to wear colorful clothing and come ready to dance, twirl, and stay in touch with your inner creativity and with the earth. The Sinema campaign would not say why she invited the witches or clarify why she thought members of the occult deserved a seat at the table during discussions concerning war and peace. The witches in question, it should be noted, claim to practice only nonviolent magic. Per the About section on their webpage, there is a peaceful and democratic kind of sorcery. The pagan cluster focuses on sharing spiritual insights and participating in direct democracy. Their visions are decidedly liberal. Many of their coven, quote, have roots in the reclaiming tradition of feminist witchcraft. Sinema also went to an anti-war rally with pagans later that year, and apparently she talked about singing and spiraling in the pagan circle only 5 rows from the police line. And then the police arrested everybody. So Kyrsten Sinema, just doing yeoman's work on behalf of her own campaign. Also, it turns out she organized for the Arizona Alliance for Peace and Justice. In one email, she urged supporters of the AAPJ to deluge the phone lines of a radio show hosted by an unapologetic, unconditional supporter of Israeli policy. So Kyrsten Sinema is basically toast in that Senate race as well. Democrats' radicalism is the major issue here, and all they have is President Trump, which is why it's not good that the President of the United States goes around calling women horseface. I mean, really, this is... Okay, we'll get to more of that in just one second. The Democratic response to all of this. Plus, a kind of shocking story. Carter Page is now suing the folks over at Fusion GPS. We'll get to all of that in just a second. First, I need to talk to you about something that has really made my back feel better. So I work out a lot. I mean, look at this chiseled body. I work out a lot, but that also means that I sometimes get lower back pain, particularly. Like after lifting heavy objects, I get lower back pain. And that was why I was so excited to hook up with the folks over at Teeter. The Teeter inversion table is awesome. Okay, you use gravity and your own body weight to decompress your spine, relieve pressure on your discs and surrounding nerves. In fact, my personal trainer is a guy who, he's in incredible shape. He's in his early 50s. He's in just unbelievable shape, like the shape of a 30-year-old. But he started having significant neck and back pain, and he started using the Teeter inversion table to relieve that pain as well. They thought he was going to need surgery. He may not need surgery, based on the relief of the pain, part of which is due to the Teeter inversion table. Decompressing on a Teeter inversion table for a few minutes a day is a great addition to anyone's daily routine to maintain a healthy spine and active lifestyle without the pain. It decompresses my spine. It's good for the shoulders. Now, there are some products that I talk about that I use a lot. This is definitely one of them. The Teeter inversion table is just awesome. Over 3 million people have put their trust in Teeter, and they're the only inversion table brand that has been both safely certified by UL Laboratories and FDA registered as a Class 1 medical device. And right now, they're offering a great deal for my listeners. For a limited time, you can get the brand new 2019 Teeter Fit Spine inversion table model with bonus accessories and a free pair of gravity boots so you can invert at home or take the boots with you to the gym. The regular price is $499, but they're offering it to my listeners for $349, a saving of $150 at teeter.com/Ben. You'll also get free shipping, free returns, a 60-day money-back guarantee, so there is absolutely no risk to you to try it out. Remember, you can only get the new 2019 Teeter Fit Spine inversion table plus a free pair of gravity boots by going to teeter.com/Ben. That's TEETER.com/Ben for that special deal. Go check it out right now. It really is a fantastic product. Okay, now, if you want to listen to the rest of today's show and more jokes about horses and Tonto, then what you really need to do is go over to dailywire.com right now and subscribe. When you do, you get all sorts of goodies. You get the rest of the show live, the rest of Klavan's show live, the rest of Knowles' show live. When you get our annual, you get that's $99 a year, cheaper than the monthly. You get this, the Leftist Tears, hot or cold tumbler, much sought after, much discussed, but never duplicated. Also, you get access to all of our hosts when you want to ask them questions. Like today, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. It's time for our next episode of The Conversation, when Andrew Klavan will be taking your questions and answering them live on air. It's hosted by Alicia Krause, and you'll get a full hour of Drew's wisdom guaranteed to produce leftist tears, plus the light that emerges from his bald, shiny dome will illuminate your day. As always, this episode will be free for everybody to watch on Facebook and YouTube. Only subscribers can ask the questions, so go check that out. Plus, more goodies coming up this Wednesday, October 16th, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Don't miss our next episode of Daily Wire Backstage with God King Jeremy Boring, myself, Andrew Klavan, Michael Knowles, and Alicia Krause. We'll be taking questions, but only from Daily Wire subscribers, so make sure to become one today. I mean, look at the amount of content we're putting out for you people. What do I have to do to get you to subscribe? Just go do it already. Come on. You listen every day. Lazy bums. Just go subscribe. Just do it. And get this. Again, look at this. It's magical. The Leftist Tears Hot or Cold Tumbler. You will love it. Go check all of that out. Plus, subscribe at YouTube. Subscribe over at iTunes. We have great Sunday specials coming up. I can't wait to announce next week's guest because it really is great. We have the next several weeks, we have unbelievable guests. We had great guests last week with Jocko Willink. We have a bunch that are just amazing coming out. Go check that out. Leave us a 5-star review on iTunes if you know what's good for you. Go check that out right now. We are the largest, fastest growing conservative podcast in the nation. So President Trump went out on the campaign trail. This is back in 2017, I believe. And he was holding a rally in Montana. And he suggested that he would give her $1 million if she could prove her Native American ancestry.
And we will say, I will give you $1 million to your favorite charity, paid for by Trump, if you take the test and it shows you're an Indian, you know.
So today, Elizabeth Warren came forward with the evidence that she was, in fact, Native American. Now, I think that it is important to note, if you don't believe in media bias, you have to check out the headlines today, because the headlines today are truly astonishing. The headline today from the Daily Beast suggests that there is strong evidence that she is Native American. Okay, it says, this is the actual title. Elizabeth Warren DNA test reveals Native American ancestry. Her claims to indigenous heritage had been ridiculed by Trump. CNN had a headline about Elizabeth Warren. Same thing. He says, Trump offered $1 million. Now he says, who cares? And Elizabeth Warren releases test with strong evidence of ancestry. And then analysis, why Elizabeth Warren is #1 in our new 2020 ranking. So CNN obviously has a pretty strong agenda here. So what this would suggest, if you just read those headlines, is she took a DNA test and it found that a great-grandparent was Native American or something. Well, not so much. So she took a DNA test, and here's what it showed. This is according to the Boston Globe. The analysis of Warren's DNA was done by Carlos Bustamante, a Stanford University professor and expert in the field who won a 2010 MacArthur Fellowship, also known as a Genius Grant, for his work on tracking population migration via DNA analysis. He concluded that the vast majority of Warren's ancestry is European, but he added that the results strongly support the existence of an unadmixed Native American ancestor. So what exactly does that mean? Here's what it means. Bustamante calculated that Warren's pure Native American ancestor appears in her family tree in the range of 6 to 10 generations ago. 6 to 10 generations ago. In other words, her actual Native American ancestor could be Pocahontas. That takes you back like 200 years. That's just to be straight about this. Her claim that she has Native American ancestry was that her mom was so Native American that she was discriminated against by her dad's family. That is not the same thing as her great grandparent, minimum, was Native American. Not the same thing at all. And by the way, that is not the outer limit of the test. The test shows that at best, she was a 6th generation Native American. At worst, it's 10th, which would mean that she had an ancestor, her great grandparent, who was Native American. Okay, the best part of this Boston Globe story, it's really spectacular. So it says, the inherent imprecision of the 6-page DNA analysis could provide fodder for Warren's critics. You think? If her great-grandmother was Native American, that puts her at 132nd American Indian. But no one says she's 132nd. The minimum, right? The minimum is that she is I think it was 1/512th or something. She's not, like 132nd is not actually a 6th generation Native American. That's like a 4th generation Native American. In any case, the report includes the possibility that she is just 1/1024th Native American if the ancestor is 10 generations back. 1/1024th. I love this. So here's the even better part. To make up for the dearth of Native American ancestry DNA, Bustamante used samples from Mexico, Peru, and Colombia to stand in for Native American. So in other words, he didn't even use like Cherokee DNA to match her up. He used Mexican, Peruvian, and Colombian DNA to match up. So what it really shows is that she's 1/1024th Mexican, Peruvian, or Colombian. So awesome. Awesome. I love this. It says, Warren has 12 times more Native American blood than a white person from Great Britain and 10 times more than a white person from Utah, the report found. Well, there's only one problem with that. What the actual study shows that the average American in the United States, of any race, the average American in the United States is 0.18% Native American. Okay, that is what, and by the way, you're not accepted as a Native American in a Native American tribe unless you are at least 1/16th Native American, meaning that you had a great-grandparent who was Native American. So we are now going back 10 generations to try and claim that she is a Native American because she claimed, I guess, at University of Pennsylvania Native American heritage and all the rest. She is 0.009% Native American. And she is bragging about this, right? This is her claim. And the media are saying, well, this should put this thing to bed. This should put it to bed. That is not what she said. That's not what she said at all. At all. It's spectacular. She's 99.999% white. Matt Walsh has a good tweet about this. He says, after finding out that Warren is a staggering 99.999% white, Richard Spencer is expected to endorse her for president. Exactly. Oh, I love it so much. I love it so much. So, by the way, according to science, just want to get this straight. According to science, if you are 1,024th Native American, that is strong evidence of Native American ancestry. If you look at precious metals investing is, of course, how much of my money should I put in precious metals? Because when people hear precious metals investing, they think that folks are encouraging them to take every dollar they have, put it in gold bars, and shove it in their basement. No. And that obviously is not a great strategy. I'm diversified, meaning I have some of my money in precious metals. What do you think is the proper way to think about this?
Well, first of all, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, you certainly don't take everything you have and put it into precious metals or really anything, quite frankly. Look, I think for an individual thinking about it, the first thing you have to consider is your own comfort level, right? Comfort is important. I don't think you ever push beyond that. Outside of that, you've got to think about what you're trying to achieve. So I would say most of our customers are looking at a hedge. Precious metals work very well because they tend to be contrarian to the markets. The idea being one side goes down, the other goes up. Well, the only thing to think about is in order for that to function, it has to be weighted proportionally and it has to be sufficient enough to function.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about Birch Gold specifically. So I've talked about why I trust Birch Gold, the 5-star reviews, the A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, and all the rest. But folks hear, a lot of different shows with a lot of different gold companies. Mm-hmm. What's the distinction between Birch Gold and some of those other companies? I
mean, you mentioned a lot of the stuff there, but I think the key difference for us is the approach and the style. For us, it's about education. I think that for an individual to make a decision effectively, they have to have the tools in order to do that. And that's what we really try and focus on. It's providing information, giving our customers the information, the knowledge they need to make the right decision for themselves.
Okay, so I have to ask you, how did you get into this business in the first place? Because you're a pretty trustworthy guy. It's one of the reasons I like working with you folks at Birch Gold. How did you get into this?
Me personally, I was a banker. I was working for Citigroup. I was a wealth manager. Actually, in and around the time of the 2008 crash, I started to think about what would be good moving forward, what sort of climate we were heading in, and ultimately it led me to Birch Gold Group and to the United States.
Well, as I've said before, Birch Gold Group, they're the folks that I trust with precious metals investing. They do have that A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. They do have the 5-star ratings from an enormous number of clients, and I know they're giving away comprehensive 16-page free kits when you go and check out birchgold.com/Ben. So go check that out right now. You can get all the information you need, and then talk to somebody like Philip over there, and he'll tell you everything that you need to know about investing in precious metals. Make sure that you feel secure, because the folks at Birch Gold, they don't want to just sell you something. They want you to feel secure in your investment. They want you to know what your expectations are. And as I've said before, we live in a really uncertain environment politically, internationally. Things are very good right now. Well, sometimes that means that it's the calm before the storm, and it's worthwhile being diversified. It's worthwhile making sure that you have enough in the bank to ensure that should things change on the stock market front, that you are insured against possible change in the future. Gold has never been worth zero. So go check it out. My friends over at birchgold.com/Ben, they really do a wonderful job. Philip, thanks so much for stopping by. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Ben.
Okay, a couple of other things that I like today. So there's a new movie coming out on Friday. It is Gosnell. It was worked on by my friend Andrew Clavin and my other friend Nick Searcy. Obviously, Phelim McAleer and Ann McElhaney are behind it as well. And here's a little bit of the preview. You should go see this, because Hollywood would not make a movie about the most prolific serial killer in American history. It took a crowdfunding effort by the right to actually make this happen. It stars Dean Cain, another person I'm friendly with. I've seen the movie. The movie's quite good. And it is all about the discovery, investigation, and prosecution of an abortion doctor who was killing babies after they were out of the womb and was responsible for the death of women he was operating on inside his clinic.
All right, listen up. We are looking for anything that looks like drugs or paraphernalia.
Philadelphia Police Department, we have a search warrant. What is that smell?
Man, you gotta see this. Is this normal?
I don't know. I've never been in an abortion clinic before. You are not gonna believe what I saw last night.
How many?
So far, we found over 30 of them. Healthy woman goes into a clinic, comes out dead, and there's no police report?
Files have been moved recently.
Look at this.
You'll be the prosecutor who went after reproductive rights, and you'll be a racist to boot.
You've got a lot of folk who'd like to see abortion outlawed. And this is not going to be the case that gives them an excuse.
Prosecution has offered you a plea bargain, Dr. Gosnell.
The movie's well worth watching, and it's you know, the only movie that's ever been made really on the abortion topic in a serious way. So, or at least in a mainstream kind of crime thriller way. But this happens to be a true story as well. My good friend Zoe Rachel is in this as well. So I have a lot of friends in this movie. So